Monday will start with a game between two teams who are both coming off losses. The Kings 11 Punjab from Mohali, they'll be hosting the Sunrisers Hyderabad. It'll be an interesting game because they also try to turn Mohali into a bit of a fortress, but the question is them both bouncing back from losses. Michael, for the Punjab team, and for both really, it's one of those they'll want to get things back on track.
Yeah, and they'll want Chris Gayle back in form. He missed out in the last game. You know, I'm pretty sure that Hyderabad will bowl spin to Chris Gayle as Chennai did with Harbhajan Singh. Yeah, you don't want to be losing two games on the trot. They're two good teams. You know, the two teams that are well led, they're well organised. I think Mike Hesson looks like he's got a good group going. Ravi Ashwin's done well with his captaincy. And the Sunrisers generally don't have two bad games, particularly with the bat in hand. I would expect both teams to play better, and it'll just be which teams, as we always say, can get their better individuals to have the better day. They'll end up winning the game.
They won't bowl Rashid Khan to Chris Gayle, will they again? The last time that happened?
Yeah,
bash.
But Nabi would be a good option. Yeah. Takes the ball away from him. Would be a really good option up front to him. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Because the thing about the last defeat that SRH had, SRH has been defeated before. They've been comprehensively defeated. It's just the way that it happened. Normally, that's what they do to other teams. Suddenly, you know, they fall for a low total and then defend it well. This is, you know, exactly the opposite happened to them. And for Punjab, it will be even more dispiriting because until the 14th, 15th over, they were there. They didn't lose too many wickets. Those guys knocked them around. But, you know, somewhere tactically, they either went too late or when they went, they just couldn't connect. You know, and that's a strange one because rarely will you see guys going that far into the game and then not finishing a chase. I mean, if Chennai was in the same position, you would have bet almost anything. You would bet the house on the fact that they'd finish. If they reached 14-15 with 2 wickets left, they would finish a game. And but that's the interesting one.
But for the Sunrisers, I know there's been a bit of an injury and a bit of a niggle for Kane Williamson, and he probably slots in once some of the players leave. But do you think there's enough reason to want to push him in because the only person he can replace is Jonny Bairstow?
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
You know, I would think that you know, Kane will probably miss out again because, you know, he's got that shoulder problem. It was an issue back in New Zealand. They didn't expect him to play so soon in the IPL. He played and then he niggled it again. So I would think they'll be very consistent. I don't think they'll make much changes. Tom Moody and his team will be very solid with his group and say, you know what, the batting unit, you buggered up the other day. Get out there and do a bit better in Mohali because, you know, they've got such a good team, they're such a good operation, and it's probably a little bit of a lesson to them. It was a little bit of a warning sign that they can't rely on that opening partnership all the time. And when the opening partnership doesn't quite work out, you know, the middle order that failed miserably, they've got to be on the game to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So I'm pretty sure Tom and his management will go out with exactly the same 11.
They've got two keepers in the team in Ridhiman Saha and Srivaths Goswami who can play as pure batsmen because you've got Jonny Bairstow solid up there. Would you even think of getting someone there, maybe a Yusuf Pathan, maybe someone just throw in an X factor in the middle order?
Yeah, look, I would change, and I'm not sure which one of them. The three batsmen, the three middle order batsmen that you have, that's literally, I think Vijay Shankar's done enough to stay there for a while. It's Manish Pandey, Yusuf Pathan and Deepak Hooda. Among these three, I know Manish Pandey's advantage is he's a gun fielder. He really gives them 15, 20, not 15, 25, 10 extra runs in the field. But those two guys, Deepak Hooda and Yusuf Pathan, one of them they'll probably look to, you know, having to replace at some point in time because they cannot afford to keep having the kind of finishes that they're doing for them. And they need a genuine finisher, and I don't see even the keepers come in, it's not that they're really finishers. They don't bat at, they're better off at 1, 2, 3, not at 5, 6, 7. So even if they come in, slot in, I don't see them solving this late finishing problem that they have right now because of their lack of international stars at that place.
Abhishek Sharma was one. He did it a couple of times lower down the order. As you said, yes, both Ridhiman and Srivaths, they're both top of the order players and you don't want to touch the top of the order. So,
right. Abhishek, I'd really look at Abhishek for either a Deepak or a Yusuf because I think those are their sell-by dates are pretty close now. And Yusuf has been, as I said last time also, he's been making the same mistake over and over again. And either somebody needs to sit him down. Look, he still can smash the ball out of the ground, but he's not going to really field for you. So he needs to give you a bit more for him to have value for you, and they need to look at that very seriously. Good teams make strong decisions and say, okay, this is it, now let's move on and do it. Let's see what they do.
They've done it in the past, and that's why they've gone on to become champions, have the Sunrisers Hyderabad. The Kings 11 Punjab, on the other hand, well, they're sort of at that mid-table type of position, and they'll know that these are the kind of games they need to make count, particularly at home. But in terms of their combination, let's just have a look at their lineup, the way it stands at the moment. They left Mujibur Rahman out, which was a brave call, and brought Andrew Ty in the previous game. But now that they've gone back to Mohali, I'm wondering if this is the combination that they're going to stick to.
Well, Mujib will come back in. You know, you could see in Chennai that Ravi Ashwin was desperate for another spinner. You know, even if the pitch is a good one, I still feel real quality spin is the way to go in T20 cricket. Mujib is a quality spinner. Andrew Ty is the one for me. I mentioned before the game in Chennai that I think he's got a lot of tricks, but those tricks have been seen now. And he has to bring something a little bit different. Got to try and change something just to surprise the batting units, because I think they know that he's going to bowl these different deliveries and they've seen them all. It may be that Mujib comes in for him. They might just go for a lot of spinners. They might just try and take the pace off. You know, they'll also be wary of the fact that the Sunrisers failed against Alzari Joseph, and they might want to add a bit more pace. So Vijay might come in because of that extra bit of pace. And you know, these kind of decisions that they make, you know, for me it's about the team just gathering and just trying to put the opposition under pressure, and that comes from having the culture right, getting over a little bit of disappointment in the last game, practicing hard tonight, I'm sure they have done, and just trying to make sure that likes of Gayle and Rahul at the top of the order are in fine form and get them off to a flying start. If you get that, pretty much looks after itself.
5 on the trot, they've won in Mohali since the previous season, so again, that's that whole fortress that they're trying to protect. Shami, there's, which one is, I've just been told that it's another one we can't use. Okay, momentum, fortress, alright. We've got to find another word for it, but yeah, it's their backyard. I think backyard.
Their stockade, it's their battlement, it's
yeah.
their...
But you know, one factor we haven't discussed too much about is at some point, some of the Indian World Cup probables are going to maybe need a bit of a rest here and there. Shami's played 5 on the trot. Could you maybe at some point Ankit Rajput for him, like for like replacement?
Ankit Rajput's a pretty useful bowler. In fact, in the T20, if you see, Ankit Rajput's probably played more games in the last 2-3 years than Shami has in the T20 format. He's a really useful bowler in this format. The other two guys I'd be looking at very seriously is Mandeep Singh is not doing it for me, and the two people who are logical, one is Karun Nair, a test triple century. The man has class. When he hits the ball, he really hits it beautifully. There's another guy that they spent quite a bit of money behind. That's a chap called Prabsimran Singh, who's also a really hard hitter and who sort of, you know, hits the boundary, reaches the boundary, and also can hit in the power plays. Not just in the power plays, after the 6 overs. You see, Mandeep starts finding it difficult to find the big boundaries after the first 6 overs. So if he's not batting in the first 6, he's really hurting you. He's a bit like Parthiv Patel like that. And Prabsimran and Karun Nair have that power. So I'd be really tempted to look at one of them for...
As someone who's sat at an auction table, I'm just trying to think of the total money strength of the bench there. You've got Nicholas Puran, Varun Chakravarti, Prabsimran. Add all that up, it's 20 crores plus.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, and that's one of the golden rules we used to have, saying that on a regular basis, at least 75% of your purse must be out there on the ground. Otherwise, you haven't picked well. You haven't spent your money well. So if 60 crores is not there on the ground, then you're costing your team. And I think about 45 is there right now for Kings 11. Remember, one of their cheapest players is a certain Mr. Gayle.
I was just going to say, 1 crore, Chris Gayle, he's back to basics, but I think he probably enjoys that in a sense. I mean, you're looking at saying that there's no price tag on my head. He's got another price tag back in Jamaica, and he just goes out there and expresses himself. I don't think at this point he cares anymore.
No, he just enjoys playing the game. I think he knows it is coming to an end. Whether it's this year, whether it's next year, we'll have to wait and see. But you know, he's still hitting the ball nicely, and he's got that look in his eye. He's got the World Cup coming up. You know, he played nicely against England in the 50 over format in the West Indies, smacking it to all parts. So there's still a little bit of life in that old dog yet. The universe boss is going to be around for another year or so, I would suggest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's a great ambassador of the game. Also, I can imagine him going up and tapping Varun Chakravarti and saying, "You ain't 8.3 times better than me, man."